Hello and welcome to another update video on Ethereum. Ethereum is currently testing the first micro resistance area after yesterday's dip, after yesterday's decline. This is going to be interesting here. We start to accelerate into this resistance area, but it will depend on whether the bulls can drive the price above 2,600 or not, whether we consider this really a more meaningful low. So we'll talk about that. Overall, the market is still in the same range. So if you think yesterday's movement is in any way meaningful, I mean, just zoom out a bit. Okay, honestly, it's just still moving in a range and can continue to move in this range for a while if it really wants to. I'm waiting for the first signals that we get a downside breakout, like, for example, a 5-wave decline would help with that. Yeah, a 5-wave decline would help. But even then, I mean, the overall thesis is still bullish for Ethereum. Yeah. And I really cannot offer another larger degree support area than this one for good reason. It's between $1,619 and $2,177. I'll show you why. Because, again, we can see this move down as a B wave, part of the B wave. So if we now, for example, assume that the A wave topped, that's the rally from the April low, if it really topped in June here, then we could now expect the move down to unfold as an ABC structure. Okay, now the difficulty begins here where we say the A wave might be 5 waves or 3. So we don't know that yet, but I can tell you that as long as we stay below 2,600, there is a chance that the A wave forms 5 waves down. And then we can get a B wave rally. And then a C wave down. This would be a straightforward pathway. However, A waves can be 3-wave movements. So if we get a break above 2,600, I would assume the A wave is a 3-wave move. That means the B wave can be quite aggressive because whenever the A wave is a 3-wave move, the B wave can technically even overshoot. So just be ready for that. And that creates here not necessarily a deep correction, but a very, very sideways oriented correction. Now the other scenario, as shown in yellow, does allow for the interpretation of an A wave already complete, a high B wave that topped yesterday, and then a C wave decline. So technically one more low could complete the entire correction. This is something to consider. I would not try to really force precision here because in this range, this is simply impossible. What I can tell you is there is no high probability setup until we see a 1-2 setup, which means 5 waves up, 3 waves down. We don't have that at this point. So we are working through a correction. And the nearest resistance area that is currently being tested is this one. Okay, what would happen above? The problem is if the move down is really only in 3 waves, then a lot of things can happen because we're just moving sideways. And if the A wave really is a 3-wave move, then the B wave, again, there is not really a target even for a B wave. We could then just, start to assume that the price might test these previous highs around 2,775 and 2,880. But with a B wave, you just have to be ready for anything, really. So that makes the interpretation of the microstructures here quite tricky. But on the macro level, the overall situation is very clear. My view is we have a 5-wave move up here. So any pullback should ideally be corrective and set the stage for higher prices. Overall, especially but only as long as we are holding $1,619. That is not a target. That is at the moment simply support. We have 4 support levels here. There isn't even a guarantee to test these because of this sideways consolidation. You might remember what I said many times. A price can correct via price, via a price pullback, for example, a counter trend move, or we can get corrections over time. This might very well be what Ethereum is doing. So you got to just wait until this finally resolves here, this range. This is certainly a recipe to lose money if you try to trade the micro patterns in a range. It's not trending at all. But if we get a nice and deep pullback, I think there could be an opportunity to find a setup there. On the other hand, if we start to see a rally from here, this might just be a B wave, which makes it really, really tricky. Okay. So from that point of view, I don't think there is much to do at the moment other than just watching the structure, observing it, tracking it until a high probability pattern emerges. You have some parameters to watch there. First of all, this resistance area and then the previous swing highs as structural resistance. That's the update on Ethereum. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.